What's up, E.D.G family? Kevin here, and today I wanted to talk about board game storage, board game organization, board games that are just easier to get to the table because there's a really good built-in storage solution kind of right out of the box, and then games that don't have that, and what you can do when you have a game that you like to get to the table, but it's just kind of hard to put away, hard to get out, hard to set up, and what you can do about that. What are different options that you could go out and find to help you with maybe those games as well. So I'm going to be talking about some good games. I'm going to be talking about some games that are not so great. But we'll get right into this. We'll talk about a couple. We'll talk about a bad and a good. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to start with probably the most popular game in this entire conversation. And I feel like this has been talked about before. But we're going to talk about Terraforming Mars. I will tell you, I feel like this is probably, out of all of them we're talking about, one of the most popular games. And I was one of those games that I was very attracted to when I got into board gaming. So I was very surprised to find out when you open this box, you get some some stuff to hold some cards, like baggies, and then it's just free floating. So disregard this because I do have a 3D printed insert for this. But yeah, this is one of those games where it's like you're almost kind of shocked when you open it up because it's like everything just free floating. You got to keep your cards bagged. Everything's just, loose in there. And the good thing is there are quite a bit of, expansions. So you do have room to kind of just drill and add cards to if you want to do that. But I find it funny because any kind of maybe cardboard insert would have helped this, a bended insert, even just something fitted, holds the board in place, holds your cards in place. It's funny because this has actually got, another cardboard insert in it. So would have been relatively easy to do. And I'm not really going to beat up on these games. I want to have the conversation about, what can be done. And obviously I had a 3D printed insert made for that. But then you come to other games, and you have games like Final Girl. And we'll tell you, this is a very well-produced product. Each one of these boxes is, $20, give or take, depending on your market. But they all come with just these fantastic inserts, Holds everything in place where you want it. Disregard, the magnetic cool things. But, you're getting a good solution to keep your cards in place. Obviously, this is a modular system, so it's kind of important to get a game like this to the table. But they didn't have to be. They could have easily have used smaller boxes and kept all the stuff separate, maybe like in a deck format, and made it a lot easier on them. But yeah, I think Final Girl has a really good storage solution. Obviously, they have deluxeified it with the storage boxes, but just even these regular boxes, it makes it a lot easier to mix and match, and they did themselves a favor with that system. The next one I'm going to talk about, which is, I'm not necessarily knocking the game. This is the first Kickstarter I ever backed, and probably one of the most indie-owned board game company games I own in my collection. But it's one of those things where it's jammed-packed. If you do not get this into the box specific way every time, it won't. You're not gonna get your lid shut. And it's, like I said, very interesting. Like I said, it does all fit, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to find your own system mentally when you put this away, take it out, to get it all back in the box. Otherwise, I don't really have any other complaints. Not too many components, not a bunch of cards like some of the other games where you gotta have them separated out. But just one of those things where, I think most people know what I'm talking about. They got a few games they're thinking of right now. And speaking of which, if you got games like this, leave me comments. Let me know. What games do you struggle with getting out because the organization is horrible? Or what games do you like getting out because everything is just taken care of? And that's what we're talking. We're talking about dice thrown. I'm making sure I'm not, picking one from the other side. But here's the thing. This could have very well have been a box. Cardboard box. Holds all of your player components, your dice, your cards, whatnot. But they're not. They're game trays. It's one of the... I could have easily filled this list up with game trays, and I didn't specifically. So if I have games I didn't put on this, that's specifically why I didn't want to put a ton of game trays. But yeah, great little storage option. I mean, you're handing this to a player. Hey, these are all your components. You know, here's your player guide, all that stuff. Like I said, did not have to be game trays. Could have easily have just been, you know, a smaller cardboard box inside a cardboard box. But I think Roxy made a good decision on Dice Throne. They used game trays for Dice Throne Adventures, which really good organizer there too. Yeah, Dice Throne. Pretty solid one. Let's talk about a game I just talked about within the last couple weeks. Currently reading a book, Red Rising. So this is one of those situations where I kind of pre-ordered the collector's edition for the insert, and the insert itself looks really good. Looks fantastic. I mean, look at this guy. This thing looks great. Oh no. Oh man, all the cubes went everywhere. Yeah, that's not good. That's not gonna work. So games that have a good looking insert that just don't tend to function. I mean, obviously I know I store this horizontally every time I put this game away, but just I'm not putting those cubes away right now. I will the next time I play it, because that's pretty much what happens anyways. So one of those situations where I had this game bagged for most of the time I played it, and then, you know, got a nice gaming shelf, stored it, you know, on its side, and didn't have a problem with it. But very disappointing when you get this, you know, really good looking insert that is just not functional at all. Love the game. It's kind of a disappointment, especially for a collector's edition. A game that has a great insert out of the box is probably one of the most vanilla, I feel like, games you can get at a lot of game stores. Clank in Space specifically. Fantastic, you know, just a nice little plastic insert. Nothing special, nothing crazy, you know. It's not one of those games where you look at an insert and you're like, I gotta have that because the production quality of the game is just looks better. I mean, it's like add miniatures to your game, and, you know, in one way, getting a great organizer. But yeah, simple, you know, place to keep tokens, nothing crazy, you know. These little boards go in there. I don't know how everybody else puts them away, but that's how I do it. Easy, no problems here. And then we go to a game where you almost expect there to be some kind of organization you get, because there's so many components. And we run into the same situation we did with the small box, where you can barely get everything to fit. And I'm specifically talking about 11. This is, you know, this is one of those games where I do not like getting this game to the table. I mean, did Portal look at this after they got it out for the first time and say, hey, good thing we made an aftermarket organizer, because this little cardboard tray is not going to do it. I have absolutely no idea where half the cards are that I need, and it's just, I'm doing myself a favor by not taking everything out of it. But it's just, I don't know, I expect more from when you're spending, you know, $100 on cardboard cards, components, something a little better than that, especially from a deluxe Kickstarter board game, you know. Very highly, I think it did very well funding. But yeah, I would have expected a little bit better organization as far as this. Maybe just a little bit bigger box. I don't know. And then we're going to go to another game trays. And this one is kind of a hybrid. We got Mythic Mischief here. And we're kind of following the same kind of concept with Dice Throne, you know. All your components are in a box, you know. You need this. You're playing this faction. And, you know, it also holds other components underneath. So it's, you know, you got an organizer tray, 4 organizers, and then additional components. I love it. This is one of the best. I mean, this is definitely one of the best organizers in my collection, I think, as far as how they handled the game, how it worked really well for Mythic Mischief. Like I said, we're not talking about all of them because, well, all of them didn't come straight out of the box that way, and a lot of them also, you know, they're very similar concepts. Like I said, Distilled, Nemesis got a great insert. We're not going to talk about them all right now. I'm just trying to show different ones, and this one is me just kind of being mean. So this is one of my daughter's games. It's one of those games where you have to have everything perfectly in the box in the right way to get the game out. Now, this one does not bother me as bad as a few of the other Hasbro ones, but, you know, getting this out, playing this with your kids when it's Mousetrap is horrible. This, fortunately, I can eventually get it away about in the same amount of time we played a game, so it's not as bad. But, you know, everything has to go in a specific way. And yeah, they give you a pictorial, but we all know how, you know, things don't always look as good on paper as, you know, they do in like a physical environment. But yeah, Fusca Ball, you know, one of those games. I'm sure a few of you know the games I'm talking about with being children's games, and you know what you don't need to insert. And then we're talking about Burn Cycle. So Burn Cycle, I will say, Chip Theory, for not really doing inserts, does a really good job organizing their games. I remember when I got Cloudspire, and there was one little foam cube. There was all this space that didn't have something sitting in it. So if you knew how to get it out, put it away, everything fit perfectly in the box, no problems. So this is a step further because there is a little bit of some organization here. You know, you have some trays, and we will be talking about this game more hopefully soon. Hopefully get some new content for it. So everything's kind of got a place, and then they have their own components. You know, you got your neoprene mats, you got places for dice, you got places for chips, and you know, your cards. Easy concept. They were doing what they already did and added a plastic insert to it. I know a lot of people I've seen it, they're not in love with how they did this, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm okay with it. I think it follows kind of what they do with the rest of their games with you know, like Too Many Bones. Everything just kind of fit where it goes. This is more how the first Too Many Bones box was, I feel like, than probably any other game. I don't have Oplomachus yet, but I heard it has a really good storage option too. So as I deconstruct my gaming shelf, what other game? So you don't have a good organizational solution for whatever game you're trying to play. Well, you can always buy one from the company that sells the game. Isle of Cats 2-minute box. This one is made of wood. Holds everything in there. Everything the Isle of Cats has in existence, other than I think the new minis. They wouldn't have fit in here, so I didn't get them. That works really well. And then like Direwolf Digital did for Dune Imperium, they came out with an organizer. I thought, to be honest, the base Dune Imperium game, for it just having like a little cardboard insert, practical, works really good. Had no problems with it. But yeah, this is obviously when you start getting into deluxeified add-ons, you know, because this actually has miniatures that came with it too, and then card storage is below. I don't want to do this whole thing. I actually have an unboxing on this, so you want to check that out. Definitely check it out. I remember how this goes. And then you get into the situation where, you know, there isn't a official, you know, insert organizer for the game that you are trying to get tabled more often. I mean, that's kind of, like I said, I think the way I approach some of these storage organizers is, to me, when you're adding one on, it's like adding the minis on, you know, to your pledge. I'm not really much of a minis guy, so take that with what you will. But then you're looking at games that have third-party organizers. This was a game I had to get an organizer from. After like 3 or 4 plays, I was like, hey, we got to get an organizer for this. And it's not bad, despite there being some cubes out. Not the worst organizer. Easy to build, but it looks really good. And I can get this tabled more often, you know. I play Gaia Project more often, but, you know, everything's in there. Looks great. See, when you buy one and it doesn't work quite this good is when you get frustrated. But I will say, I got another folded space insert coming for an upcoming Kickstarter, so we'll see how that one goes. But to me, I would much rather spend money on getting the game to the table more often rather than having sometimes those deluxeified opponents. Good example here. Yes, they have a couple different aftermarket storage solutions for Scythe. But at the time, I just got Scythe and I didn't want to spend money on an organizer. So what did I do? I built my own. And so yes, I made this one all from my hand. And it stores everything as well. I have them all still baggy just because, you know, a lot of little fiddly components. Don't want them going everywhere, but everything fits in here. And now, because I did that, makes me not want to, you know, deluxify the storage any further because this works for me. But yeah, that is another thing you can do to help get your game to the table. I will say, Wingspan, not really an organizer, but it's boxed really, really good. Everything stays in place. Yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for me. I hope, you know, this was entertaining. Hopefully, you guys have a few ideas as far as organizers that work really well for some of the games you got. Like I said, all of these were as came, except for obviously the 3D printed one I pointed out. But as came out of the box. So, I don't know, what do you think? You got a few games out there that you've pulled out and been like, really, this is it? Or have you opened a game you didn't know that had a really good organizer and were like, oh my gosh, this is going to make it so easy to get this to the table? Because that's a pretty good feeling, I will say. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for me. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you want to see more board game content like this. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Much love.